take that Razorback out and just make it be about us.
Yep. Just after Saturday's game, getting ready to hit the floor today. Hopefully, have two good practices in preparation for Tennessee, and we need to have two good practice after the way that we played, in Knoxville.
How did Isaiah's knee respond to playing 38 minutes? Is it any swelling or anything?
Yeah, no, I mean, from all indications from Mark, everything's good. He's feeling good.
Eric, I don't know if you remember the red-white game. I think Adria took a couple jumpers or maybe one, and you took him out, and you said afterwards, he was doing good stuff, but that just wasn't in his wheelhouse. And I totally agreed. Didn't have any idea he was going to shoot like this. Do you remember that? And just kind of to go from that point to this point, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's just, he's put in a lot of time, working on his craft. And, I mean, the one thing that, philosophically that we want is we want five guys that are a threat to make a three, just because it opens up the floor, you know what I mean? And I mean, he's been the one guy that especially with each game's continued to get better and better from three.
And Conzo Martin said the other day he considered Adria a perimeter player. Do you consider him a perimeter player?
I mean, I think he can. He's versatile. At his size, he can guard multiple people. His perimeter shots improved. I mean, I kind of look at him as a hybrid forward, I guess, is the best way that I would describe him.
What have you seen in Tennessee since they played you, and just kind of how this team, that's the only team that blew them out. You see any kind of revenge factor or any motivating factor?
No, I mean, I've just kind of talked over and over about every game takes on a new theme, a new identity. There's adjustments. It's like a playoff. I said it the other couple weeks ago when we were playing our first opponent. I think it was Mississippi State for a second.
Hello, hello, hello. It is our Tuesday edition of OTH. We are here. Indeed, we made it 2 days in a row, man. I'm feeling pretty good about what's going on. How you guys doing? We want to give a shout out to you all to welcome everyone to the show today and let everybody know that this is brought to you by Lindsay and Associates with an office location in Fayetteville and office location also too in Rogers. This is also brought to you by Locomotion, located just below the Northwest Arkansas Mall in Fayetteville. Corey Beck's Custom Painting, and where we're going as soon as we leave here, you better get down there too. It's at 989 Razorback Road. Yep, KDK's Chicken. Go down there, see Keith, Kathy, get a plate of that love. And I mean, they got a lot of love, and they tell you it's not your mama's. Best chicken and waffles in the South. They got what else, Demetrius, down there? They got what all does the menu have? You just
I actually got a menu in the car. On the break, I'm gonna run to the car and grab that menu. So we can talk about that. But I'll make sure we do have that for the next break.
Joining us momentarily here in our next segment will be Kevin McPherson of Hallville.net. We're going to talk high school hoops. Who's the player of the year in the state of Arkansas? And also, too, with Isaiah Joe back, what's the outlook for Arkansas if they can get on this run? Where does he see the Hogs finishing the season and possibilities of making the NCAA and an SEC tournament run. And following that, we'll go down and at 1:30, we're going to catch up with the APs, Derek Oxford, talking hog hoops with him as well. All that's coming up, but we want to get over here to Demetrius real quick. Today's question of the day. Give us one, D. What would be the Razorback question of the day? Okay, yeah, we're going to give you a second. All right. And that will be at the 145 segment that all you viewers and listeners can chime in on. We will, Demetrius is going to think on it, and then we're going to give you a question of the day, topic of the day for our listeners. But let's get this thing going. We caught up yesterday with senior forward, combo forward, whatever you want to call him. I call him a basketball player, Adrio Bailey. We'll hear what he has to say post-Tennessee, and then we'll come up with Kevin McPherson of Hallville.net. All that's coming up. It's on the Hill with Pat Jenkins on KDSJ 479. Let's get it.
The difference that you're shooting, over 40% from three.
Just shooting the ball with confidence, taking the shots that come to me, not really forcing any shots, just let them come to me within the offense, within the system, and just shooting with confidence, really.
Eric Musselman said that before the season they didn't expect you to be the guy leading the team in 3-point percentage. Have you surprised yourself? And what's the key? What's the reason? Is it just hard work in the gym, or?
Yeah, that's you answered it. Like I'm not surprised because even though I worked on everything else, I did work on shooting the ball because I knew that was an area that I need to get better at. So yeah, you pretty much answered it. Like it's basically just hard work and just trusting your craft. You put in too many hours to not be confident to shoot the shot. So every I shoot it, I'm confident it's going in.
Just as Tennessee's the only team that had the blowout on y'all. How much of an incentive is there against that? And kind of looking at the tape, what went wrong that game, do you think?
We didn't play with any energy. We didn't play with any enthusiasm.
Welcome back to our Tuesday edition of On the Hill with Pat Jenkins Sports Talk Radio, coming to you here each and every day from 1 to 2 on KDSJ 479. And we caught up with one of our good buddies. He knows a little bit about the high school Arkansas basketball scene, and we'll talk must bus as well. So we thought we'd catch up with him. Yep, you know who he is. He's recruiting extraordinaire for all high school basketball. Kevin McPherson of Hallville.net. Kev, welcome back to OTH, my bud. You there, Kevin? I'm not hearing him. You there, Kev? Can you hear me, Kevin? I think we'll take a we'll take a real quick break. Let's take a real quick break, get this tech issue right, and then we'll be back with Kevin McPherson at Hallville.net. It's on the Hill with Pat Jenkins on KDSJ 479. Let's get it.
That don't really, throw me off my game as it do other people. But it don't really throw me off. It's just, if anything, it creates driving lanes, and opportunities for back cuts and other teammates to score.
Yeah, I think I remember this right. Back in the red-white game, Eric Musselman took you out because you took a couple jumpers, and I think he told us afterwards, well, Adriel was doing this well, he was doing that well, but those jumpers just aren't in his wheelhouse. And then obviously those jumpers are in your wheelhouse now and even farther out. When he took you out, what do you remember about that? And was there a party that said, okay, I'm going to show Coach that I can hit those shots,
No, early on I wasn't how can I say, I wasn't letting him come to me. I was just kind of force him up. And he never told me not to shoot it. He always told me if you're gonna take it, shoot it as if you know it's going in. So early on when I kind of stopped shooting him and started to get to the goal, and then he was like, I shoot. Me and a couple guys shoot every day, and he's like, I see you shooting. So when you get in the game, it comes to you, shoot it. And from that point on, I've been shooting it.
I gotta admit, I don't watch pregame warm-ups a ton, but he said the other day that if you watch warm-ups, you wouldn't think Adriel would shoot that well in the game, but then when the lights come on, he hits those shots, and obviously you'd rather have a guy who hits the shots when it matters than a guy who does it in warm-ups. Is there just something where maybe in game you're more of a gamer, so to speak, or?
I wouldn't say I'm a. Well, I don't know. I just love basketball. I just love the game, man. I just love basketball. I don't know. I shoot it, go in. I shoot it, miss. I just play basketball.
Conzo Martin the other day said they look at you as a perimeter player. Do you look at yourself as a perimeter guy?
I look at myself as a basketball player. I love basketball, inside, outside, creating mismatches. I just love basketball.
Back to his old self Saturday with Isaiah back and the floor being spaced out a little bit better?
I feel like Jimmy, he knew his role. He played his role well. He got to his spots. He got going. He came up with some big shots when we needed him. I feel like he dug himself out that little slump that he was in. He stayed confident. He didn't let it, overcome him. He overcame it, and he came ready to play.
We didn't talk to y'all too much during the losing streak, and at the beginning of the season you guys said that Musselman's always the same, always consistent. How was he during that streak and trying to motivate you guys to step it up?
He was the same way. He was just telling us it's going to come to an end. We just got to fight harder, play harder. He always told us, don't let like we're gonna always overcome things, just even though we was a man down, though, by us being like a short roster, one man down, that's like 2-3 people going because we're so short. So when we got one of our brothers back, it really helped us a lot, and they just told us to, we got to work with what we got.
Coach Musselman, after the last game, talked about your goal line defense as far as your rebounding and just a team about trying to, not get beat on the second half or second chance points. Just kind of, can you explain what that is and what your role is in that?
My role is the energy guy. Make sure everybody come with complete energy. Kind of just keep everything poised. Don't let people get out of control. Stay within the offense, and just really just play with just effort and energy. Just let my teammates and everybody feed off me, and that's how I get going. That's how we get going, and that's just how we play.
They posted on a basketball Twitter account that I assume it was in the locker room right after the Missouri game. Eric's laying down flat, and he kind of rises up, and then they show like a wrestler coming out of a coffin or something. Was that something that happened after the Missouri game, and kind of what did that mean to you guys, or what was the reaction from the team?
Each game we do like a theme to overcome where we've been, and that thing was like the wrestler Undertaker, when everybody thinks he's down or he's lost and he's flat dead in the coffin. He always comes back up and he finds a way to win.
So that was after the game.
Yeah.
Okay.
He did it before the game.
Okay.
We was just looking at he was just looking at ways to overcome.
Okay, before and after. Okay.
Yeah.
Adriel, you got 5 guaranteed games left. I don't know what your thought process.
Welcome back. Now we got a problem fixed. He's with us, and we're going to get right into it. Kevin McPherson of Hogville.net. Kevin, welcome to OTH, my man.
Well, hey, good to be with you again, Pat.
A lot of high school basketball I need to talk with you. Also, too, Kevin, I want to get your take on Arkansas with Isaiah Joe as opposed to without Isaiah Joe, how the NCAA committee is going to be, really viewing this team going down the stretch. But first, I want to get off into high school basketball. I was with a friend last night, and as we're starting to wrap up the season, the talk of who's going to be Mr. Basketball and who's going to be Mrs. Basketball. First, I want to talk to you about who's going to be, in your opinion, Kevin, the Arkansas High School Player of the Year in this state for boys basketball.
Boy, you know what? I really think, Pat, that it comes down to 2 guys, and that's Jalen Williams and Devontae Davis. And, you could go either guy, and I don't want to be too democratic about it. I know, not everybody gets a trophy, but you could really make a case for co-MVPs. I mean, Jacksonville's still unbeaten in a really tough 5A Central. Now, they host Maumelle, a good team tonight, and I'll be covering that game. But Devontae Davis has been a triple-double machine, and even when he doesn't get triple-doubles, it doesn't matter. I mean, he's a big reason why that team plays as well as it does. I've got him ranked third in the state. And Jalen Williams, Northside just upset Little Rock, handed that team its first 6A Central loss Friday night, and I was there. And he just, he's 20-10 every night,
Right.
and does so many other things. I think those are the two top players in the state, and I think, honestly, it's a coin toss on those guys. And I think since there's more basketball to be played, we just got to see how they do in the postseason. I think one guy can gain advantage based on postseason success, because right now they're about neck and neck in my view.
When you look at the state of the state of Arkansas high school basketball, you make quite a few games each and every Tuesday and Friday night, about as often as you can. Where is boys basketball as compared to Kevin? Because you get out in the summertime as well, but where are these high school basketball players in this state as far as the growth and notoriety on the national level, in your opinion?
I think it's still a work in progress, Pat. Obviously, the last few years, the basketball has been really good in the state. I think it obviously hurts a little bit at the high school level here in Arkansas when guys like Moses Moody, KK Robinson, Jalen Ricks are playing out of state and playing on these national teams. Now, it's good for them in their progress and development. Don't get me wrong, and I'm not trying to blame them or put blame on anybody. But it's a fact. If some of your top players are playing because they're so good on national level teams, it's going to affect the quality. But it's still really good basketball. Not everybody has to be a Division I high major prospect for the talent to be there. And I talk to coaches, college coaches all the time from out of the state who are just impressed with the level of talent in this state.
Absolutely.
And they're like, man, the Arkansas talent is as good as some of these states that are known for talent. So, yeah, the grassroots – spring and summer help showcase these guys on a national stage, but I think the word is out and coaches are now coming to Arkansas during the season to put eyes on these guys.
The thing that I see happening when we talk high school basketball, Arkansas style, is women's Arkansas high school basketball to this point is at a stage, Kevin, where these are elite women, top 25 in each class. You got Chloe Clarity, the freshman down at Conway, Mamari Williams over at North Little Rock, Jersey Wolfenbarger up at Northside, Miriam Dowda, she's over at Bentonville, Sasha Goforth, Fayetteville, Alana Eaton down in Jonesboro. Talk about who, in your opinion, is the girls' high school Miss Basketball Player of the Year
Wow.
as we wind this thing down.
You just named some names that really matter. I saw Chloe Clardy yesterday. She picked up the Arkansas High School Girls Player of the Week honor at the last meeting this year of the Downtown Tip-Off Club. They run from late December to late February, and so that's a big-time honor for a freshman. Typically, you don't see that. We saw two freshmen this year, her and Bryson Warren, the boys player at North Little Rock. But to answer your question, well, this is a dilemma, Pat, because all these girls can play. You can make a case for Alana Eaton, who's putting up crazy numbers at Nettleton and having a big year, signed with Arkansas. Sasha Goforth is a do-it-all player headed to Oregon State.
Right.
Jersey Wolfenbarger is now 6'4". Miriam Dowda's a big that, Arkansas's coveting both of those players. Then you talk about Chloe Clardy, you talk about Destiny Salary. There's so many girls. If I had, if I'm on the spot and I've got to call it, I'm saying Jersey Wolfenbarger, only because, she hit the big shot last year, and they've been the best team this year, and she's the best player on the best team. But her talent, even as she continues to grow, she's grown from 5'8" to 6'4" in a matter of 18 months, and she's still learning to put on strength and deal with that center of gravity changing dramatically. But still, her ability to do so many things on the court to affect a game, puts her at a different level. But you could say that about Alana Eaton, Sasha Goforth, and some of those other names. These are five-star talent in Arkansas. It's crazy the abundance of five-star talent in the state on the girls' side.
Let's get back to the men's side and the must bus. There's a five-star talent that just got back in. I won't say he was a five-star coming out of high school, but he's a five-star since he's been in the SEC. With that being said, Isaiah Joe comes back into the Arkansas lineup on Saturday. 21 points, 5 of 10 from the three-point line, and just seemed like kind of made the small ball that they played early in the year be to an advantage for Arkansas rather than a disadvantage like it has been. Talk about how this team looks, Kevin, in your opinion, having Isaiah Joe now back into the lineup going forward. And if this team could make a run, you have to understand when they get to the SEC tournament, there's going to be 7 quad one opportunities for this basketball team. But what's the number that you see Arkansas having to get to possibly to be really considered to making that NCAA tournament, last 4 in, or possibly an 11 or a 12 seed?
Right. I think they've got to win at least 4 more. I think 4 more probably gets them in. 5, I think, you don't have to sweat, but 4 is, puts them in position there, and they can do that a combination of ways. If they finish 3-1 in the regular season, obviously you want to beat LSU at home. That's probably a quad 1 win. It's kind of borderline right now if LSU will be ranked in that top 30 net. Right now they are. But that would be a big win to help reach that. But also, if you do that, if you win 3 more games regular season, and let's say you pick one up in the SEC tournament to get to 4 more wins, that means you've won away from home at least twice, maybe 3 times. So that also goes with the current schedule that has 4 road wins.
Right.
But let's look at Isaiah Joe with the point you brought up. Arkansas was 13-2 when he started playing with injury and then missed some games. Okay, there was about an 8-game stretch there where they only, a 10-game stretch where they only won 2 games and lost 5 in a row. When he's healthy, they're 14-2. Okay, now most of those games weren't played in SEC play though either. Okay, let's be fair, only 4 of those games. But in those 4 games, when he's healthy, they're 3-1 in SEC games, with the lone loss being at LSU. In a game they could have won down the stretch. So I think this team is in position, but not just when we start talking about how many wins they need. Is it realistic? Of course it's realistic. When Isaiah Joe's in the lineup, the whole dynamic changes for this team. And a guy like Mason Jones, who I think is obviously, in my opinion, he's the player of the year in the SEC to this point. Okay, he looked a little gassed the other day on offense, but guess what? Arkansas had firepower other than Mason Jones, and he was able to do other things. Let him in rebounds, let him in assists. The formula for Arkansas to have success as a team is not for Mason Jones to score 30 points. They're 1-5 when he does that in SEC games. The formula is for it to be balanced and other guys being able to bring value to the floor. Isaiah Joe changes everything for defenses because he spreads everybody out because they have to stay on him. They have to stay on him 26, 30 feet from the basket to make sure he doesn't get off. And when that happens, it opens up things for everybody that you see a more balanced attack.
We're speaking with Kevin McPherson of Hogville.net, covers all Arkansas recruiting for Hogville. You can check all the stuff out. Also, as a guest each and every week on the Pig Trail Nation, covering recruiting for the Pig Trail Nation as well. But last question before I let you go, Kevin, and I want to thank you for taking time out. But in your humble opinion, going forward, I know we're going to have let's go ahead and say we can count Isaiah Joe, Mason Jones. In your humble opinion, who's the most key role player for this basketball team going forward, Kevin?
Key role player outside of those 2?
Right.
Whew, I think that's a toss-up between Jimmy Witt and Desi Seals. Look, Witt's a guy that's been a reliable scorer, but his shooting's gone down. I think with Joe back in the lineup, it's going to come back up a little bit. So it really makes me think if I can count on that, Desi Seals becomes the X factor.
All right.
We've seen him have a half of basketball where he doesn't do a lot, and then he explodes like he did in the second half. And this last game against Mizzou, he exploded in the second half against Mississippi State and had 15 points. They almost won that game. They came all the way back. Desi Seals this time last year started the last 8 games and played his best basketball. If they can consistently get him to step it up now here in crunch time, this time of the year where it's March Madness coming, if he takes it to another level, I think he could be the X factor. Let's not forget Adriel Bailey's energy, and he's starting to have a resurgence here a little bit. I just think with a full, healthy group, even though it's still not a deep team, we see guys more in their comfort zone when they're getting back to the rotations that they have when Isaiah Joe was healthy.
Hey, always great having you on, man. Have a safe trip up. I look forward to seeing you on press row tomorrow night versus the Tennessee Volunteers. But as always, my man, thanks for taking time out here on the Hill.
See you then, Pat. Good to be with you.
All right, bud. Well, that was Kevin McPherson, Hogville.net, covering all Razorback basketball and all Razorback basketball recruiting, and giving us the high school update as to how he sees it. This guy is all throughout the state doing a very, very, admirable job of bringing us all the information. But we're going to step away. We're going to play you the second half of senior forward Adriel Bailey's post-game interview, and then we'll be back with Derek Oxford of the AP to talk more Arkansas hoops. And maybe we'll throw a little high school in there because he knows a little bit about that as well. It's on the Hill with Pat Jenkins on KDSJ 479. Let's get it.
Don't let like we're gonna always overcome things. Just even though we was a man down, though, by us being like a short roster, one man down, that's like 2-3 people gone because we're so short. So when we got one of our brothers back, it really helped us a lot, and he just told us we got to work with what we got.
Coach Musselman, after the last game, talked about your goal line defense as far as your rebounding and just a team about trying to, not get beat on the second half or second chance points. Just kind of, can you explain what that is and what your role is in that?
My role is the energy guy. Make sure everybody come with complete energy. Kind of just keep everything poised. Don't let people get out of control. Stay within the offense, and just really just play with just effort and energy. Just let my teammates and everybody feed off me, and that's how I get going. That's how we get going, and that's just how we play.
They posted on the basketball Twitter account that I assume it was in the locker room right after the Missouri game. Eric's laying down flat, and then he kind of rises up, and then they show like a wrestler coming out of a coffin or something. Was that something that happened after the Missouri game, and kind of what did that mean to you guys, or what was the reaction from the team?
Each game we do like a theme to overcome what we've been, and that thing was like the wrestler Undertaker. When everybody thinks he's down or he's lost and he's flat, dead in the coffin, he always comes back up and he finds a way to win.
So that was after the game?
Yeah.
Okay.
He did it before the game.
Okay.
Like we was just looking at he was just looking at ways to overcome.
Okay, before and after. Okay.
Yeah.
Adriel, you got 5 guaranteed games left. I don't know what your thought process was when you guys were going through that streak, but picking up that losing streak, but picking up the win on Saturday with the 4, just how you're approaching this last little stretch as you try to get this team back to the tournament.
One game at a time, just taking one game at a time. Trust the process, believe in the process, and just play with just everything I got left. I love Razorback Nation so much, and they deserve to get all of me.
You've had 16. I think before the Florida game, your high scoring in SC game was 11. Then you got 11 the other Saturday. I mean, do you feel like you're playing the best ball of your career right now?
I feel like I've worked hard to get where I'm at, and I feel like I'm gradually getting better each game. And I look at it like that. I don't look like I'm playing my best basketball because I still have much to grow. I'm still developing now. But yeah, I feel like I have been playing some pretty good basketball. We've been playing some pretty good basketball. No problem.
Welcome back. Welcome back. It's on the Hill with Pat Jenkins Sports Talk Radio. It's our Tuesday edition here on KDSJ 479. And let's get right on into it. I mean, this guy knows a lot about Razorback basketball, and that's been the topic today. So let's go ahead and bring him on in. A good buddy of ours. You've heard him on OTH multiple times. And he, like I said, does a great job. Derek Oxford of the AP. Derek, welcome to my OTH, man.
What's going on, man?
How are things going, Derek? I want to get off into it. Deal with Isaiah Joe. Arkansas loses 5 consecutive with him on the bench, out of the lineup, comes back. Talk about how much of a difference and how different does this team look when number 1 is on the court?
Well, I mean, I think it's drastically different. Just the ability for him to create space for guys like Jimmy Witt, and then Desi Sills. The offense just flows better with Isaiah cutting and setting screens, and it's somebody else that the defense has to account for. So, when Isaiah was out, opponents were able to just try to key on Mason, and most teams didn't have success doing it because, he was going off for, 30, 40 points a night. But now the offensive output doesn't have to just be solely on Mason. And Mason didn't have as good a performance as he probably would have liked to have Saturday.
Right.
But it was probably an adjustment for everybody. Figuring out how to play with Isaiah again. And then I think it's gonna. I think the player that's going to benefit the most from it is Jimmy Witt. He struggled probably the most he has all
Right.
year during
Good
that
point.
5-game absence from Isaiah. So if Jimmy can get back going where he was, averaging 14, 15 a game, you're going to get 15 to 20 out of Isaiah. You're going to get 15 to 20 out of Mason. And then as long as you get double figures from a guy like Adriel or Desi, you have a chance to win a lot of ball games, in this stretch run.
I know a lot of people, underestimate, the 3-point ability that Adriel has displayed. I mean, he's been one of the more high percentage 3-point shooters this year. Now, maybe not taking a lot, but when he does take them, he makes a high percentage. When you talk about that also, too, now we go back last year, Derek, Desi Seals shot about 46%. And here over the last 2 to 3 games, I know he had a 0-point game last week at Florida, but for the most part has started to shoot the ball with some consistency. When you get those two, and like you mentioned, Jimmy Witt, you're always gonna get something from Mason and Isaiah. If you can get those 5 guys going, what's the outlook for this basketball team? And my second part of that question, to me, it just seems like Desi brings more to this basketball team as the 6th man. Is that something that Coach Muss' staff should really continue to look at for the duration going forward?
Yeah, I mean, for the first part, I think the outlook is, if everybody can contribute what they're capable of every night, they could win out. And then I think they could, make some noise in Nashville as well, and not only be a surefire at large, but have a chance to increase their seeding to the point where they could possibly win a couple of games in the NCAA tournament.
Right.
Obviously, that's going to take everybody performing at a high level. The second part, I do agree that Desi is a more effective player off the bench. Not that he was a bad starter, but I think it's kind of like that Daryl Macon role from a couple of years ago, where it seemed like bringing him off the bench was beneficial to the entire team.
Absolutely.
And so I think with Desi, I think it's something that Musselman should maybe look to explore, and bringing him off the bench, just to give a spark, because he's such a he's so full of energy on both ends. He can give you that spark defensively. His rebounding ability as a guard. I just think he's kind of like a Swiss Army knife. He can do so many things. He has a vast array of versatility. So I think it's something they should definitely explore. These final 4 games, and then however many games they play in Nashville.
When you look at this basketball team, over the last couple of weeks, social media, we're always on it. Myself, you as well, and you see a lot of let's just be honest, nonsense from a lot of Razorback fans, and you see a lot of during that 5 or the 8 out of 10 losing streak. Musselman, there's not talent. He's not the type of coach. What's your message? Because I think that's just blasphemy. I don't get it. I think this guy has done a great job with what he's had to work with. I mean, there is talent, I believe. It's just when you lose, like he said, one of the best shooters in the country, and you hadn't really had a chance. Mason's playing banged up. You've had Jimmy banged up. Desi's been banged up. Talk about, what's your message to the fans when you hear stuff like that from from our vantage point, Derek?
Well, I mean, idiots are going to be idiots.
Right.
The social media just gives people a platform that, they used to not be able to have. There was always going to be outside criticism, even in the days before social media, but now it just is so accessible for everybody. It's so easy to look at negativity and breed off of it. But yeah, I mean, I don't think that anybody that was looking at it objectively thought that, Musselman isn't a good coach because they went on a losing streak, or because, I think anybody with, has a realistic approach, can see if you lose one of your best players that you're going to take a hit
Right.
on both ends of the floor. And it was, and it'd been also been a lot different if they were getting blown out every night during that losing streak. They only got blown out once.
Right.
when it was on a, one of those, where you had to play on a Tuesday night after you had to play a late game on Saturday. So, they lost so many close games to, it's pretty easy to say, well, if you have Isaiah Joe in those 5 games, at worst, you probably go 3-2.
Right.
And more likely you go like 4-1, or maybe even you win all of them. It's probably unlikely you win all of them, but you probably go 3-2 or 4-1, and this team's already in the NCAA tournament at that point.
Derek,
so,
which leads to my next point, and want everybody to know that if just tuned in to us here on Sports Talk Radio, talking with Associated Press writer Derek Oxford, covers Arkansas for us here on OTH. The NCAA, just over about a week ago, has put out some information that there could be a possible adjustment to that transfer portal rule, to where kids, once they transfer, will be immediately eligible from wherever their destination is. Take that, with that being said, and implement it, and say it gets passed, but it gets passed this year, and then you put in J.D. Note and Connor Vanover. Which one of those 2 players would have the bigger impact on this basketball team this season, in your opinion?
I mean, I think Connor, just because of his length and his ability to knock down shots from the perimeter, you just be somebody else inside that can alter shots, and protect the rim. Not to say that, JD Note would not have an impact.
Right.
They're so guard heavy already that I think the difference would be less apparent. I think if Connor was eligible, I think this team probably has at a minimum 3 more wins, maybe even 4 or 5 more. And that's assuming that, Isaiah still were to get injured. So, if Isaiah had stayed healthy and they'd had Connor, who knows what this team would be. And granted, you have to adjust for, it messes up, it might have messed up some other things that ended up happening. Mason Jones may not go for, 30 points 3 games in a row, but I think this team would definitely already be, a surefire lock for the NCAA tournament if one of those 2 things had happened.
Right.
And I think that players should be able to immediately be eligible unless they transfer within the conference, or if they've already used a transfer before. I don't think that players should have to sit out a year just because they transferred.
Right.
Someone like Dusty Hannas would have been huge that year that they had Bobby and Michael and Ty Madden.
Absolutely.
If they'd had Dusty Hannas on that team, who knows if they would have been able to do that year. But he had to sit out simply because he transferred. I don't think that players should just be able to transfer every year to the best opportunity.
Right.
I don't agree with that either. But I definitely think that, that I like that the NCAA is exploring the possibility of being able to be immediately eligible.
Final question before I let you go. Sam Pittman's, your assessment early of Sam Pittman, got some really important grad transfers. Since we were talking about the topic of the portal with Felipe Franks, he gets Xavier Kelly, he gets Levi Draper, he gets a kicker from Duke, the D-back Jacobs out of A-State. Talk about Coach Pittman, and what's the early assessments from what you've gathered here the first couple of months with the Pitt boss at the top for the Hogs?
I mean, I don't know how you can't be impressed with what he's done in such a short time frame, and the fact that the program's coming off back-to-back 2-10 seasons. I mean, to be able to convince people that this is the place they need to come,
right,
at where really the program might be at the lowest point it's ever been. I mean, especially in the modern era. So, I mean, yeah, I don't know how anybody couldn't objectively be impressed with the job Pittman's done.
Well, man, keep doing what you're doing. I always like, watching your feedback on Twitter. You do a good job, Derek. And hopefully, will you be there tomorrow night?
Possibly.
Oh.
I'm still waiting to see if I should be able to make it after church. So, yeah, I should be there.
All right, Derek. Well, as always, my man, have a blessed one. And thanks for taking time out here on OTH.
Thanks, Pat.
All right. That was Associated Press, Derek Oxford, and that's going to wrap up our show for today, as we want to give a thank you to our guest, that being Kevin McPherson of AR Hoops and Hogville.net, also too of the Associated Press, Derek Oxford, for coming on and talking high school sports, talking Razorback basketball, Just a lot of things. Tomorrow we'll be back on with more guests as Arkansas will give you a little bit more preview as they're going to host tomorrow night in Bud Walton Arena on Nola Richardson Court. They host the Tennessee Volunteers tip-off 7:30 p.m. That will be shown on the SEC Network. We'll have all your game-ready information on tomorrow's show, but that's going to wrap it up. I want to give a thank you to our sponsors, Lindsay and Associates, with an office location in Fayetteville. An office location also too in Rogers. Locomotion, located just below the Northwest Arkansas Mall in Fayetteville. Corey Beck's Custom Painting. And lastly, the one I'm about to hit here in just a minute, and you better get down there too. Hopefully we can sit down and have a little bite to eat. That's at 989 South Razorback Road. That's KDK's Chicken. Go down and see Keith and Kathy, get a plate of that love. They got a lot going on. I'm telling you, I don't think Demetrius, were you able to get the menu? I don't think he was able to get that, but we'll try to throw some things out there. No, better yet, just get on down there. It's located at 989 South Razorback Road. They got a sign. They said it's not your mama's. Best chicken and waffles and everything in the South is good at that place. But that's going to wrap it up from our producer, Demetrius Johnson, and myself. Want to make a note tonight. If you're in the Northwest Arkansas area, you can check out Senior Night. Fayetteville High School will be taking on the Heritage War Eagles from Bulldog Arena. Girls broadcast will be live on FM 106.1 at 6 p.m., followed by the boys contest at 7:30 p.m. I will be on the play-by-play. My producer back in the studio will be Demetrius. So, man, we got a lot going on. Just check us out. We'll be back tomorrow. It's On the Hill with Pat Jenkins on KDSJ 479. See, you got me thinking about chicken. It must be time to eat. Anyway, you guys have a blessed one, and let's get it.